ピアスさん、
うん。
このこのラグは瞑想をするのに良さそうですか？
うん。ははは。
良さ、良さそ
うん。良さ
良さ
そう。うん。
そう、良さそうですか？
The clip you've just seen comes from a series of 4 consecutive 90-minute lessons over a period of 2 months, filmed in the summer of 2023. In this series, you'll see how the teacher, Yoko Yasuda, used an image to work with the two students, Piers and Lawrence, to deepen their skills in Japanese. Deepening is the goal here, not broadening. So these lessons don't focus on adding much new vocabulary. Instead, you'll see how Piers and Lawrence's expressive capacity gradually expanded over the 6 hours of these lessons. Don't be concerned if you don't speak Japanese. If you watch carefully, you'll see what's going on.
Here's the picture. It provided a focal point for the lessons and meant that we all knew we were talking about the same thing. We started with me volunteering this.
この部屋は黒さんの寝室です。寝室だと思います。
I didn't actually know whose bedroom it was, so that's why I added I think, which made my sentence true. This is an important principle in a language class. If students try to say something that's true, then they have a clear idea of what they're trying to say, and the teacher has something solid to work on. She can then help them to say it better. After all, the real task in learning a language is developing the skills needed to express ourselves, whatever it is we personally want to say. This is one of the reasons why role plays, preset dialogues, and fill in the blanks exercises are of little use in a language class. They're a diversion from the real task. In the next clip, I asked for a word I didn't know in Japanese.
ヤスさん、
はい。
これは日本語で何ですか？
知りません。
カーテン、カーテン、
カーテン。
カーテン、カーテン、
うん。
カーテン。Okay, so curtain. Curtain.
Curtain.
I find Japanese English words like curtain difficult to pronounce correctly. I slip into the English very easily. Yoko pointed this word on the chart and immediately gave us the pitch melody. Every new thing needs practice, so I tried using curtain along with some grammar from a few lessons ago. Notice that a little feedback was all I needed to correct myself.
クルさんはカーテンを開けましょうとしています。
これはいらないですね。
開けようとしています。開けようとしています。Okay. クルさんはカーテンを開けようとしています。
In fact, I must have previously penciled into my mental model of Japanese confusion between these two verb forms. Not that I'd been consciously aware of this, but Yoko's feedback was enough to nudge my mind to jettison the misconception. This is how we learn anything. Our brains automatically and continuously generate predictions based on our mental models and use feedback from the world to revise them until they better fit their facts. My mistake probably signalled to Yoko that I, for one, needed more practice with this about to construction. In fact, it became obvious that Piers wasn't certain about it either, so Yoko gave us some varied practice. Here's a couple of examples.
はい。黒さんは椅子に座ろうとしています。
はい。
スリッパを履ようとしています。
そうです
はい。
ね。難しい
履
でしょ。
る。履よう。
はいよ。
履く。
うんふん。
履く。
履く。
履こうとしています。
黒さんは
うん。
スリッパ スリッパを
うん
履こうとしています。
We need this kind of supervised practice when we're learning so that we resolve each issue thoroughly and then we're ready to move on to something else. Eventually, after having worked on a series of sentences like this, we seem to have sufficiently consolidated it and could integrate it with what we already knew into sentences like these.
今、黒さんはベッドに入っています。
OK、ストップ。じゃあ、それを指してください。
OK。今、
うんうん
黒さんはベッドに入っています。
はははは。
入っています。入っ
そうそうそう。
ています。
うん
今、黒さんはベッドに入っています。
じゃあ、次の文、どうぞお願いします。
そして、黒さんは目をwait a minute
ごめん。
閉じようとしています。
うん、指してください。
Okay。そして、黒さんは目を閉じようとしています。
うん
そして、黒さんは目を閉じようとしています。
黒さんはベッドに入って目を閉じて寝ようとしています。
Then Yoko made Mr. Black move, which gave me the chance to try saying Mr. Black left the room, not having put slippers on.
黒さん
黒さんはスリッパを履かない履かないで、
うん
部屋を出ました。
うん。
Okay, cool. So, 黒さんはスリッパを履かないで、スリッパを履かないで、部屋を出ました。
This was my first time trying to say something like not having put on or not wearing in Japanese, and my attempt wasn't so bad, just one word, de, missing. It's striking how Yoko used her fingers and pointing to give me the one thing I needed for my sentence. The way that Yoko works, provoking awarenesses and avoiding explanations, is designed to exploit the mind's capacity to notice patterns and regularities like these and build them into the brain's neural circuits. And this is what makes it a very efficient way of learning a language.
黒さん、スリッパを履かないで、カーテンを開けないで、椅子に座らないで、座らないで、座らないで、
グループはこっちだから。
座らないで、
座らないで。
椅子に座らないで、部屋を出ました。
Practicing like this, we were both developing implicitly the mental criteria Japanese requires and, at the same time, training our muscles to make the sequences of sounds needed. Learning a language requires both mental and physical work. Next, I wanted to say the curtains are closed, so I tried, but in fact said something more like he is closing the curtains. I needed some new grammar to express my meaning.
カーテンは閉めています。閉めています。there. So, 閉めています。 カーテンは閉めています。閉めてあります。閉めてあります。カーテンは閉めてあります。閉めてあります。カーテンは閉めてあります。
As you can hear from my voice, I found the correction puzzling. At that moment, the hypothesis that jumped into my mind was that maybe it was because curtains are inanimate. Not a completely stupid idea. The best way to resolve a confusion like this is to just keep trying things out. So we followed it up by saying things like this.
スリッパはラグの上に置いてあります。
パジャマがベッドの上に脱いであります。
絵が壁にかけてあります。
Being puzzled by this bit of Japanese didn't particularly bother me. Nevertheless, my mind must have been unconsciously running over it for the next few days and nights. Because 5 days later, when I was having breakfast and not thinking about anything much in particular, the puzzle suddenly resolved itself in one of those light bulb moments. Actually, even now, I couldn't really explain what I know about this in words. If you asked me, I couldn't give you much of a guide or rule or explanation, but I could easily give you examples, more or less, as I could for any aspect of English.
Piers and Lawrence were working towards the top end of level 3, well beyond fundamental work with rods or things like days of the week or time. An image restricts the conversation to a more concentrated experience of the language, which at this stage they still needed. This kind of uncluttered image invites students to speculate and express opinions, requiring language like I think or if this, then that. In the next episode, you'll see how Piers and Lawrence learn to express more complex ideas.